Retro Ghetto.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Retro Ghetto. Shmups, shooters, shoot 'em ups, call them what you want, I love them. And in recent times they've really dominated my collecting and video game playing time. Now what I'm going to do today is delve into my entire library of shmups. This is a video I've been wanting to put together for quite some time, and I've got quite a sizable collection now, and I figured this was a good time to show you guys all of the shmups that I currently own in physical format. I was going to originally just do it based on each system. I was going to show all my Switch shmups, all my Super Nintendo shmups, but what I decided to do was to do it in terms of their pricing. So we're going to start low, and we're going to get to the most expensive shmup that I own, which I was genuinely shocked by, at the very end. That way, what it allows you to do is see some of the bargains as well. Or if you're new to the genre, maybe you're not quite sure if it's going to be for you, or maybe pick up one or two of these cheaper ones. And I will obviously be giving some of my tips along the way as to ones that I think are good entry-level shmups and just some of the real bargains that are out there. Right, okay, there's a lot of games to get through, so let's get straight into it. We're going to kick off with the cheapest of the shmups that I own, and that is 1945 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 2. This will currently run you just £5, and an absolute bargain. To have two classics on the one disc for that price, yeah, you can't go wrong with that one at all. And then, you don't get many Nintendo Switch games for less than £10. I know, I've checked. This one, I believe, is coming in at just £6, and that is Shinamura. Cinnamora? However you want to say it, it's a bargain. An absolutely beautiful shmup, this one. Quite an interesting mechanic in that you're sort of competing against time as opposed to lives, so the way you die is you run out of time. I need to put more time into this one. Not easy like a lot of these shmups aren't, but an absolutely beautiful game in terms of its visuals. I don't know why this game's so cheap. Maybe it was sort of printed en masse, but I mean, you can't really go wrong with any Nintendo Switch game for that price, right? Never mind a beautiful shmup. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. And then back to PS2, we have got Steel Dragon EX. So I believe this features both the original arcade and a later port of the game. I might be wrong, but this one I think CX are selling for just £6 as well. So yeah, I mean, you just can't go wrong with these prices, right? And then you'll see a theme with these early ones, right? Another PS2 game, what was supposed to be the final R-Type final. I really struggle with the R-Type genre. I enjoy them, I just find them very difficult. I've never put enough hours into one to get good at it, but yeah, it's not something which comes naturally to me. There will be more R-Type games as we go through this list, but yeah, this is definitely the cheapest of the bunch at just £8. And then the only PlayStation 1 game that you'll see on this list is Strikers 1945 2. Not really much point in buying this, I don't think, at £8, because as I say, you can get the compilation of Strikers and Strikers 2 for cheaper on the PS2, but I think I saw this in nice condition at my local CX. I've got the collector's disease, so you know, I picked it up. And then we make our way to the first of the Xbox 360 shmups. We've got Death Smiles, the Deluxe Edition, and Akai Katana. Both of these are currently just £12, these cave shooters. They both come down in price significantly. I think I paid closer to £20 for a Kai Katana, and I predicted that these would go up in value. However, I didn't foresee that the Nintendo Switch would get a release of these. So as a result, I don't think you can go too far wrong picking these up for £12. Bullet Hell isn't necessarily my preferred genre of shmup, but yeah, there's no denying that these are very good games, and I enjoy playing them on my Xbox 360 kiosk. I just wish there was more shmups on the PAL Xbox 360, as a lot of them only got Japanese releases, which are now very expensive. And then from there, we're going back to the Nintendo Switch, and a very interesting game, this one, Aces of the Luftwaffe. This has gone up to 15 at one point. I think it was even closer to £10. A real like steampunk, almost World War II setting. Really interesting one. It's one I've not got around to yet, but it's definitely on my list of games to play. This next one is a very recent addition, and that is Sylphied. So Sylphied will run you just £15. I've had a quick go on it, haven't put too much time into it, but I don't think it's a very difficult shooter from the time that I spent with it. And then we move on to a very difficult one. Now, do not be fooled by the title and the box art. That is Horgy Hue and Friends. Now, it looks like a cutesy, kid-friendly game, right? Wrong. This game is difficult. I don't think I got past the 3rd level on this one, and yeah, it's almost a lie. You look at it, you think it's a kid's game. It's anything but a kid's game. It's £18 currently at CEX. And then we move on to another 360 one. I think that's all of my 360 shmups now. And that is Under Defeat HD. I was really excited when I picked this one up. It was a game I'd never heard of. I bought it for both the 360 and the PS3 originally. Really thought it was going to be something I would enjoy, with it being sort of like a helicopter, with it being a shmup. The graphics are really nice. The only thing is, I don't really like the control system on this. You kind of have to point yourself in a certain direction, and you can only shoot in that direction. I've not spent enough time with it for it to become second nature, but the controls feel a little bit convoluted on the time that I did spend with it. But definitely one to pick up should you see it out and about under Defeat HD. And then one which has gone up in price recently, because I bought this for I think like £12 and now it's going for 20. And that is Gunbird Special Edition. Again, you can't go wrong with these PS2 compilations. I recently sold my Dreamcast collection, and one of the games that I enjoyed having was Gunbird. So when I saw that you can pick up the PS2 set, yeah, I jumped straight on that one. Another Nintendo Switch one here is Cotton Reboot. There's so many Cotton games now that have been re-released, right? People seem to really love the genre. I haven't spent too much time with this one, but this one's just £20. And then we move to the first of the 16-bit shmups on the list. Quite cheap for a 16-bit shmup at just £22 currently. And that is Biohazard Battle. I know a lot of people in the comment section have had a lot of nostalgia for this one. I regularly get comments for people saying that they played this one a lot in their childhood. It's almost like alien insects on a grand scale. I played this one a little bit. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't my favourite Mega Drive shmup, but I am going for a full subset of those shmups on the Mega Drive. And yeah, this is a cheap entry-level one to pick up at just £22. Right, okay, next up, we've got a couple of games that was the initial stages of the shmup genre, right? So on here I've got Galaga and Galaxian. I've got this little compilation on the Game Boy. It's hard to find good Nintendo cardboard out there, right? But this one's just £22 according to CEX. And then we've got Thunder Force 2. It's not my favourite in the Thunder Force franchise. It's like the opening level, man. It's not what I expected when I played Thunder Force, because I started with 4, which we'll get to, and then I made my way to 2. But you just have to get through that initial level, and then the game sort of does open up and become quite enjoyable. But it's definitely one I'm going to sink some more time into going forwards. Wow, okay, this one is a game that I discovered, I think, just this year. Gynoog. I'm going to go with Gynoog. I don't know exactly how you pronounce it. This is sort of everything that I want in a shmup. It's got that real nice pixel style, of course, with the 16-bit era. But it's also sort of like a fantasy, mythological setting. And you're flying in through all these sort of demons, and it's real macabre, but it is so difficult. I wish it wasn't as hard as it is, because I think I'd enjoy it more if I could get somewhat like into the second level. Would be nice, right? And the levels are long. It's a long slog, and when you die, you go back to the start, you know, old school hard. But yeah, really enjoy this one. And I mean, that box art, right? Absolutely fantastic. Definitely worth picking up at just £25, this one. And then a game that I didn't even realise was a shmup until I got it in my collection, and that is Archer McLean's Super Drop Zone. You'll be seeing some footage of this one on screen now. Maybe not your traditional shmup. It certainly looks like an interesting take on the franchise. Right, okay, and now we make our way to Raiden 4. So this is the Raiden 4 Mikado remix. So my understanding of this is that they basically took the Raiden games and then they sort of gathered some famous Japanese composers and intertwined the music with the gameplay more for an interactive experience. Never really put much time into any of the Raiden games, if I'm being honest, but yeah, this is definitely one which is high on my list. And this next one really sort of confirms what I was saying about the pricing, because I've got this one at £28. That's what CEX sell it for. It's never in stock at CEX. I paid £60 for this, and you've got to find it, right? And that is The Hunt for Red October. So this is a shmup, but it plays like a submarine, just like the film. Really interesting looking game, this one. I've only recently picked it up, so I've not had a chance to play it out for myself yet, but I keep saying it's on the list. There's a lot of games that are on the list, right? But yeah, definitely an interesting one, and one that I don't hear too many people talking about. Speaking of interesting takes on the genre, this is not a game you'd necessarily expect to be a shmup, but that is Tailspin. I couldn't find much out about this game. CEX have got this one listed at 30, but I couldn't really find much on eBay in terms of sold or listed or anything like that. I don't know if it's an uncommon title. Love the box art, I love the cartoon, and as you can see now, it just looks like a real cutesy, fun take on the genre, and definitely one I'm going to be sitting down and playing one day. If I keep saying that, I'm never going to leave this room. I just love these games, man. But yeah, Tailspin. And then another one, which I keep saying is on the list, Super Fantasy Zone. I think this was originally released on the Master System. I mean, it's almost what you'd call a cute 'em up, right? It's got those bright colours. It's one that I'm looking forward to playing. Again, I'm going to stop saying that. But yeah, Super Fantasy Zone. Right, okay, I'm not sure if this next one 100% falls into the category of shmup. There are a few games that have grey areas. For example, Cuphead. I loved Cuphead, and the majority of it was shmup-based levels, but there's also running gun elements, so I didn't add it to this list, and there's a few others like that, but I decided to add this one in, and that is Choplifter 3. It's almost got a mixture of shmup elements, platforming elements, and strategy all combined into one game, but it's an interesting game. I thought I'd show it. And then, shout out to Strictly Limited for sending me this one. This is a shmup which I very recently finished. This is the collector's edition of Drainus. Really enjoyed my time with this one. So the mechanic on this is that you have the ability to drain your opponent's sort of guns and bullets. So when they're shooting, you can then drain it and then you can use it as a power shot against them. Really interesting concept, very good game. It's quite short, but obviously the challenge in this comes from the replayability of playing it on a harder difficulty setting and not using any of the continues. And yeah, it's very rare I revisit games, but I'll definitely be going back to Drainus at some point. Highly recommend that one. You can currently pick that one up for about £35, although that would just be the standard copy of the game, not the collector's edition. Next up, a game I had many years ago when I sold my collection. I've only recently re-added it, and that is Super Swerve, an interesting game. You can play sort of either as a helicopter or like a jeep, so it does add different elements to the gameplay depending on what vehicle you choose to utilize. And then moving on to a game which was the reason why I bought a GameCube, to be honest, and that is Ikaruga. Ikaruga is one of them that I'm surprised never continued to go up in value. This is currently £38 at CEX, and I think it was in and around £40 when I bought it all those years ago. I really enjoy this game, but I just can't get past the penultimate level. I think it's either level 4 or level 5. Very, very difficult. I love the switching mechanic on it. If I'm being honest, I tend to play it on Xbox 360 on the Xbox store, because on that version you can spend more time at certain levels. So you can jump straight to level 4, for example, if you're struggling on it, and then try and get good that way, and then go play through the game with having more experience on those levels that you're struggling with. But really wanted to own the original, and yeah, I really enjoy Ikaruga. Okay, now, this is a game I've been playing recently. Twin Hawk. Really enjoyed this one. I love the soundtrack with this, and what this one does differently to most games is it's not sort of levels, it's just one long level, if you like. The only way that you know you've changed a level is because the music changes, and I really enjoyed that because it never sort of takes you out of the action. You're constantly in the fight, but then the music will change and you'll think, right, okay, next zone. And the power up in this is basically a fleet of other aircraft with you. So you'll have sort of like 6 or 7 other aircraft will join the party, and as you shoot, they'll shoot. But obviously as they get hit, they'll remove, and eventually you'll be left with just yourself again until you get another power up. Really good game. I got very close to completing it. I need to get back to it. This is another one. I think I actually got to the last level of this. But you know, like with these old school games, it takes a lot of time to get yourself back to that last level. So yeah, but it's definitely one that I've got unfinished business with, and I highly recommend it. Really enjoyed my time with Twin Hawk. And then we have got the Psikyo Bravo collection. It comes in a really nice big box, this one, on the Nintendo Switch. This contains Gunbird, Gunbird 2, Gunbarich, Tengai, Samurai Aces, and a game which is written in Japanese that I cannot pronunciate nor read. But I mean, just look at the artwork on that one. This is actually coming in really cheap at CEX, I believe. I think they are stocking this one for less than £40. Yeah, just £38 on this one. No guarantee you'll get this big box, but definitely worth picking up, right? I mean, beautiful collection to own. Right, okay, next up is one of my favourite shmups of all time. For me, a modern, retro, classic. I've spoken about this so many times on the channel. Andro Do Knows 2, everything about this, the graphical style, some of the best music on video games, hands down, full stop. You can't not get pumped up, right, when you hear that entry music when you get into this game. And yeah, I pretty much played this continually until I completed it. And again, one of those rare games that I will be going back to. Absolutely love this one. When people talk about entry levels to the genre, this is always the first game I say. It's not easy, but it's certainly not difficult. I definitely feel like it's one of them games that you can pick up and enjoy it regardless of whether you are a shmup aficionado or you're new to the genre. Andro Do Knows 2. I'm going to stop talking about it on the channel. Maybe. Next up was a gift I very recently received, and that is Soul Cresta. This was done by Platinum Games, and there was a lot of hype for this one. Haven't had a chance to play it yet, but will be doing so shortly. And then we make our way to some of the Mega Drive games now. We've got some Mega Drive heavy hitters coming up, and we're going to kick that off with Hellfire. So we're now getting to that point where the games are in the 40s, so CX sell this for £42. If you can get a complete copy, then you're doing well. But yeah, just one of them games that I haven't gotten to yet, but I love my 16-bit shmups, and that takes me to the next game for just slightly more at £45. Zero Wing, another one that I haven't yet had a chance to play. I know there's a big cult following for this one. I think it recently got a re-release on the PS4. But yeah, I just love 16-bit Mega Drive shooters. And then we've got another Raiden Mikado Maniacs remix, Raiden 3. I believe Raiden 3 is the purest choice. I'm sure this is the one that Raiden fans really enjoy out of those games. Like I said about the other Raiden remix, right? Just one that will be getting some time one day. Especially with me having the functionality in here to play games in Tate or tape mode. And I think this is one of them games that will really benefit from doing so. And then we move on, of course, I've showed you the Curios Shooting Stars Bravo. I've got to show you Shooting Stars Curios Alpha. So this one comes in at a little bit more money than the previous one. This one's £45. Probably because I think it's probably got a better lineup of games. Strikers 1945. Strikers 1945 2, Strikers 1945 3, Dragon Blaze, Soul Divide, and Zero Gunner 2. And again, just that artwork, right? I love having both of these collections on display. I'm not really one for big box stuff. I think they just take up too much room, right? Which is any collector's worst nightmare. But I absolutely love these big boxes, I really do. And very, very happy to have both of these in my collection. And then we move on to a game which was recommended to me by Marcus at Dad Lads Gaming. Shout out to Dad Lads Gaming. And that is Crisis Wing. I've got the Elite Edition here. This isn't one that CEX sell, but from like sold listings online, you're looking at about 50 quid. Everything about this was good. Just, I don't know what it was. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So, real nice visuals. Music was fine. I love the box art. I enjoyed it. It's difficult. I don't know. It just didn't hit. There was something that just didn't quite connect. It's one of them games that I put on and I play for a bit and then turn it off and don't return to for a few weeks later. So read into that what you will. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I liked it. I just didn't love it. I just wish it was a bit better than it was, because there is a lot of things to like about this game. Speaking of things to like, this is the game which birthed my love of the genre. It's got to be up there for me. Might be my favourite shmup of all time. Like I say, finding this game, trying it out, falling in love with it, dedicating hundreds of hours of my life to learning every single level and ultimately beating it and having that real sense of satisfaction that I just don't get with modern gaming, is ultimately what birthed my love of the whole genre. And that is Thunder Force 4. Yeah, I mean, the music, the visuals, the gameplay, the challenging element of it is doable, but it is difficult. Yeah, this is everything that I want in a shmup. Thunder Force 4. I haven't played 3 yet. That's still one that I need to add to the collection. So I can't say this is my favourite one because I haven't played 3. But I think maybe because like the nostalgia, the place this has in my heart for all those things I've just mentioned, it's going to take some beating to knock Thunder Force 4 off its perch, right? And this is currently £50 at CEX, and if you can grab a copy for that price complete, I would definitely do so. Also £50, and from what I hear, an absolute classic, Truxton. Very, very famous within the genre. I know that people have got a lot of love for this one. Another Mega Drive shmup that I haven't had time to play yet. I went on a real Mega Drive shmup kick and I was buying as many as I could from CEX when they became into stock. And yeah, I haven't had time to play through them all yet, but obviously Truxton. I've heard a lot of good things about this over the years, and it's one that I'm excited to one day sit down and put some time into. Right, okay, so we're getting to that point in time now where there's a lot of Nintendo cardboard coming. And kicking it off, we've got Capcom shmup, Super Nintendo, I mean, it's everything I love, right? And that is UN Squadron. You'll be seeing on screen now, absolutely beautiful visuals, this one. Quite unique in that it has a health bar, it's not one hit kill, but do not be fooled into thinking that makes this game easy. This is one of them games that I wish it was a bit easier, because it's one of them games I really enjoy. I'd love to explore it and get a bit further into it, but I just can't get very far at all. But yeah, UN Squadron. And then we've got another R-Type game, Super R-Type. Like the last game, this is £50 at CEX. And again, just an absolute classic, right? But I just find R-Type games so difficult. And then the next game, going up to £55. This was a CEX lottery, and it was one of the best lotteries I've had. This is in such nice condition. Never ever heard anybody talking about this game. So let me know in the comments if you've played this one. It's definitely one that I'm going to sit down and play. I'm going to stop saying it one day. But the reason I say that is because no one talks about it. So I feel like this game I've got to find out for myself, right? And that is Super Strike Gunner. Maybe it's because it's quite generic. It looks a little generic on the back, but yeah, I got this for a real nice price given how nice the condition was. That was a great CEX lottery, that one. Super Strike Gunner. And then, moving on to what people commonly refer to as a cute-em-up, and that is Pop and Twin B. I mean, yeah, it's just a fantastic game, right? It's everything I love about 16-bit gaming. Bright colours. I mean, if any game sort of summed up Super Nintendo for me, this is the sort of visuals that I'd be looking at, right? Yeah, just absolutely love those bright colours when I turn it on. It just instantly takes me back to my childhood. And then we've got a Mega Drive game here, an expensive one. I know that there was recently a challenge that a lot of the fellow tubers did where they played this game, Fire Shark. From all what I hear, it's not a difficult game. Quite an easy one to play through. I think according to Dylan, shout out to Dylan over at Hyper Trigger X, who is a lot more knowledgeable on shmups than myself. He said Twin Hawk is a lot more difficult than Fire Shark, even though they look very similar in the way in which they play. So yeah, Fire Shark, haven't played it, so can't tell you too much about it, only that it is not a cheap game. It's currently going for £60, as is this next one. So this is the most expensive Nintendo Switch shmup that I own, and again, they don't sell it at CEX, so maybe that's why. And I went on sort of eBay sold listings. A game I've very recently added, the game that I'm currently playing and thoroughly enjoying, and that is Jamestown Plus. I've got to give a shout out to Eddie Rollercore for putting me onto this one on his recent modern retro video, and yeah, it's a very enjoyable game. It's only very short. I think it's only 6 or 7 levels, should you be able to unlock them. But it's about doing all the different difficulty settings. So it will start on normal, then it goes to difficult, and then before you know it, you're at epic impossible mode or whatever it's called, right? And the same level but just ramped up difficulty, and that's the fun and that's the replayability in this one. It's about trying to complete each level on each difficulty setting. As I say, you have to get progressively better each time. And yeah, I'm really enjoying Jamestown Plus. With it being limited run, I think that's why it commands quite a high price tag on eBay, but I'm very much enjoying it. And another game which isn't too difficult actually, and that is Super Aleste. At least, I don't know, I'm going to go with Aleste. Yeah, one of those ones that I would say in terms of like 16-bit entry level. So if you are a 16-bit kid, a Super Nintendo kid, and you want to get into shmups, then this is probably what I would advise, because it's not overly difficult, it's enjoyable, the music, chef's kiss, right? Yeah, there's a lot of fantastic things I could sit here and say about Super Aleste. It's not a cheap game, £70 at CEX if you're lucky to find one with a manual. Probably be a lot more on eBay, and yeah, just an absolute classic. Right, okay, we're at the final 4, so the 4 most expensive shmups in my collection, and the first one is Axelay. I prefer Super Aleste that we just looked at, to be honest, but it is a great game. I was on the hunt a couple of years ago now to complete my silver box Konami set, and yeah, so I was happy to add this, even though it's in terrible condition, because this is not a cheap game. CEX say 80, eBay says considerably more. Haven't spent a lot of time playing Axelay, but I'm not going to say it. So let's just move on. Right, okay, next up is my most expensive Mega Drive shmup. Again, CX sold this for 90, I believe, and that's massively underpriced. Yeah, it's Felios. It's everything I want in a shmup. I've said that a few times, right? But I love mythology. I love Greek mythology. I mean, you're riding on a Pegasus. You got like projectiles which fire out of a sword in this mythological setting. What more could you want? It's not overly difficult. I played through this, thoroughly enjoyed it. Mine's faded, it doesn't have a manual, but I'm just happy to have it in my collection because it's just one of them games that just keeps going up in price. I mean, look at the box art, even faded, that's beautiful box art, right? And yeah, wherever you're an emulator, however you can play this one, play it. This is the sort of game that I would love to get a re-release. I'd love to have this on like a Nintendo Switch or something. Maybe get physical that way, that would be nice. But yeah, just a great game, Felios. Just a shame about the price tag. Right, okay, next up is a game I've got a lot of history with on this channel. The penultimate most expensive game in my shmup collection. Very rare game. And that is R-Type 3 on the Super Nintendo. So viewers of the channel will know my history with this one. This game never comes in stock at CEX. It did once. I purchased it immediately. £140. And they sent it in an envelope. It came destroyed. It was crushed. It was battered. It was all creased where someone had put it through my door. And yeah, it wasn't my finest CEX lottery, to put it mildly. Since then, however, we've sort of done a full like 180 with this game because they refunded me. I got it for cartridge price. I since did a full refurb on the box. I've been fortunate enough to find a manual. I was fortunate enough, shout out to Minesh, to add the poster. So now we're in pretty good condition with this complete copy of R-Type 3. And yeah, clearly a classic. When I look at the box art, I just wish I could get that far into the game. I've said twice now already, I struggle with R-Type, but from my understanding, R-Type 3 is a little bit more forgiving than the original R-Type. I think they looked at some of the issues that they had with the earlier games and rectified them in this game, but yeah, I just wish I was better at it to experience more of it. And that takes me to the most expensive shmup in my collection. It's the only game on this list for this console, and from what I hear, it's not the best. It's a compilation of games, and that is Wii U's the SHMUP collection. So CEX are selling this for £190, and that's because this was limited to 3,000 copies. It'd probably be significantly more than that on eBay. Yeah, 3,000 copies from Pixel Heart. I've got number 1471. And there's a lot of people like myself that have gone for full Wii U sets, and that's sort of obviously made the price go up on what is a very limited run game. So it contains 3 shmups, Statasius Next, Arm 7 DX, and another one. They all look quite generic, to be honest. Let me know in the comments if you played through these. I won't be opening this. This is sealed. It's going to stay sealed. You can pick this up cheap digitally or on the Switch. But it was just purchased really to complete my full Wii U set. But like I say, CX have got this at £190, but it doesn't tell the whole story. I think a lot of these games that I've showed you would cost you significantly more if you actually wanted to buy them via eBay or other sources. And yeah, that is it. I think that's 50. So it was a nice round number, right, of shmups in my collection, and it felt like the right time to do this. And I just want to say, if you're watching this, you're not really a huge fan of the genre, I wasn't either. I never got the hype. I used to see shmups and just think they all look the same. They're all difficult. I don't really get it. And then Thunder Force 4 happened, and that was like my moment of clarity. That's what sort of awakened me to... It gave me that real sense of achievement and accomplishment that I just don't get with a lot of games, don't get with modern games. I enjoy them and play through them as like interactive movies, but with shmups, that real sense of having to get good, that real sense of turning it on and thinking this is impossible, how can this be done? And then hours and hours later, doing it and beating it, and yeah, just giving you that real sense of vindication of your time well spent. It's just a fantastic feeling, and yeah, as a result, I now love the genre. So if you don't think it's for you, try it, and maybe like myself, you will be converted, right? But hope you guys have enjoyed this one. It's obviously a genre that I love, and for me, it's just a great time spent just going through them, just reliving them, and yeah, and now I want to sit here and play shmups all day, so that's not a bad thing either. But if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, and let me know in the comments if there's any more collections that you would like me to look at on these videos going forwards. But as always, thank you. Play your games, keep it retro. I'll see you real soon. Take care.
Retro Ghetto.
Lock into the retro ghetto.